Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the Lions podcast with me, Hendrik Fourie. Well, this weekend we're back to the URC. That's great. This weekend the Lions are playing the Sharks, and in case you weren't certain, this is a round 8 match that was rescheduled because it would have been played in December, but then it was rescheduled for a later date. The Lions and the Sharks they are 9th and 10th on the log. Sharks 9 and the Lions 10. We are both on 24 log points, and there's only a points difference of 10 points between us. This weekend is an important fixture for the Lions so that we can try and get back into that top half of the URC log. I'm going to divide this podcast into 3 sections. Firstly, we're going to look at what the Sharks are doing really well. Then we will look at their vulnerabilities. And for the third part, we will look at what I believe the Lions should do to win this week's match. This weekend's match, of course, Saturday at 2 o'clock at Ellis Park in Johannesburg. Right, so let's start with what the Sharks have been doing really well. And specifically, I looked at the last match against the Stormers. I did a bit of analytics, for want of a better word, regarding their match there. And because I believe that is the best way to see where they are at the moment. Of course, they would also have improved since that last match. And we're just going to start off by looking at what they did really, really well. So, firstly, the Sharks are really good on counter-attack, and especially when they're under the high ball. Box kicks, they're really good. We know that they've got in the 2 wingers and at the fullback, Apalele Fassi, the 2 wingers, Williams and Van der Merwe. Then at center with Andre Estreisen and Ethan Hooker, they're quite solid there as well, especially on the attack. But they're very, very dangerous with open space from broken play, and specifically, as I say, under the high ball. And that is something that the Lions are going to have to be aware of. Another strong part of their play at the moment is around the rucks. They're very competitive at the rucks. They like to disrupt the rucks, and from there they like to attack, especially close around the ruck or straight through if they can. And that's something that the Lions coaching staff and the players, I'm sure, would be aware of. When they've played 1 or 2 phases, they love to look for space on the outside in the tram lines. And if you watch my previous podcast after the Bulls match, that is where the Bulls scored 2 tries against us, where we were totally exposed. So I hope that in terms of defense communication, the Lions have sorted that out so that we're not as exposed on the tram lines. They also like to take quick tap penalties between Jaden Hendrikse and Grant Williams. Both of them are very good, very nippy, and they're very awake. So that's something that we can expect from them as well. In the opponent's 22 and closer to the try line, the Sharks have got an absolute go-to man in Andre Estreisen. They just love feeding him the ball. He loves receiving the ball, and very often he scores from there because he's such a strong and good ball carrier. When the Sharks are under the cosh, and if they are not well organized in terms of the attack, the default position is to do a box kick and to put pressure on the opponents and hope that the opponents make a mistake, and then get turnover ball and attack from there. That is something that they absolutely love to do and that they're really good at. They really expect, once they've taken the box kicks, the high up and unders, they're really in a good position and a mindset to attack. They actually expect the opponents to make a mistake. If you look at their body language, their body positions, their support play from a high kick, from a high attacking kick, they're absolutely ready for that. So hopefully the Lions will be up to that task as well. Next up, I just want to mention a few of the Sharks' vulnerabilities as I studied them, again with regards to their last match against the Stormers. I think that they weren't really as good, to be quite honest, as what the Stormers were weak on the day. So let's look at some of the areas where I believe the Sharks are lacking, at least where they were lacking, and we can hope that that's something that the Lions will expose this weekend. The Sharks, from set pieces, when they feed their backline, the backline lies very deep. They're not really in a position to attack the advantage line straight away. And it really gives the opponents an opportunity to push up the defensive line and thoroughly defend the advantage line. When the Sharks fall back in defense, the defensive line becomes very unstructured. And there's gaping holes and gaps all over the show. And that's something that any of the opponents, and I hope this weekend the Lions will expose when the Sharks fall back, let's say for a kick or something like that, or if we've made a line break. The Sharks are really not good in falling back defensively. When the Sharks get line-out throw-ins as their ball close to the opponent's try line, they basically only go for a short throw in the front. They're not, or up until now, they haven't been confident enough to throw to the back or even over the line out to receive the ball at the back via a center or somebody or a loose forward standing in the back line to receive it there. I would really hope to see that the Lions are going to compete in lineouts, especially if it's close to our try line. Unfortunately, the Lions haven't been great in defending mauls, but at the same time, the Sharks isn't great at mauling either. They prefer to go to their back line rather than do an extended maul. One of the other weak points that the Shark has shown is from attacking play from behind a ruck. They do the same thing that the Lions did in their previous match, and that is to receive the ball standing still. The Lions were also guilty of this, and we saw this. It was glaringly obvious in our match against the Bulls, where the Bulls would receive a ball from the ruck at pace, absolutely charging at the advantage line, whereas the Lions and the Sharks receive the ball almost standing still, and it really gives the opponent an opportunity to push up and defend the advantage line. So I hope that's something that we can really put pressure on the Sharks this weekend when they play from behind a ruck. Something else that was that it wasn't that obvious, but if you re-watch the match, then you'll see the Sharks were quite indecisive when it came to receiving kickoffs. When they got the ball, there was a lack of communication, there was a lack of understanding of who's going to do what next, and they were often caught with the ball only 2 or 3 meters from where they actually caught the ball, specifically from a kickoff. I think I've mentioned earlier that I don't believe that they've got a strong maul. I don't think they've got a lot of confidence in setting up mauls and taking it for long distances. So if we defend really well and get our maul defense structures right, we can really counter that. And then also the Sharks have got some poor defense when it comes to defending mauls, not just setting up mauls, but their defense of mauls are not great. And this is something that's been quite a strong point of the Lions the past season, setting up our own mauls. Sometimes we're just not patient enough. But I believe if we can set up a strong maul, a good structure, and we stay patient and committed to a maul, then we can really score 1 or 2 tries off that this weekend. Right. So, from a Lions perspective, what do we need? What do we need to see from the Lions this weekend in order to win the match? Which, by the way, I thoroughly believe that we will win this match, but it's going to depend on a few factors, and I'm hoping that the Lions have done their homework. I'm sure they have, and that they've used these last 2 to 3 weeks to prepare for this upcoming match. So, firstly, discipline is paramount. We've unfortunately over the past season, we've had situations where under pressure we've made some mistakes resulting in a yellow card or too many penalties that actually sort of turned the match around on a dime, and that's unnecessary. In terms of our attacking play, the Lions really need to do what we've been doing well, and that is play with ball in hand. Mornay van der Berg has got a really good box kick, and we need to utilize that, but we also need to be careful not to overdo that. And sometimes the Lions tend to do that. They tend to kick too much, whereas I believe that we've got really, really good skills to play with ball in hands. We do play high risk rugby, but that is what we do. Sometimes it doesn't work, like our last match against the Bulls, that didn't work. But it was actually, if you rewatch the match, you'll see that there were a few opportunities that went a begging because one or two mistakes were made. For us, when we're gonna use the box kicks, especially, we need to put enough pressure on the Sharks' backline in order to keep them back, to even to try and win the ball back. As I said previously, the back three of the Sharks are really good. They're really fast and nippy, and you can't give them even 10 meters to pick up pace and to find gaps and space anywhere. They will make us pay for that. We need to be more aggressive at the rucks. We need to compete more at the rucks. It's one of the areas that the Sharks definitely were very good at when they played the Stormers, and it's something that we need to be aware of, and especially our defense around the rucks need to be better. Also, we need to defend more aggressively, especially along the rucks and in line with the rucks. We can't allow the opposing players to dominate us from a ruck every single time and take us 2, 3, 4 meters back every single time, because that is what the Bulls did, and surely the Sharks would have looked at that match and seen that vulnerability. So I'm truly hoping to see a big improvement on that. As I said, the Sharks are not great at the kickoffs. I would love to see our wingers get in behind the ball in case the Sharks make a mistake. I would love to see us put the Sharks under pressure from kickoff time. That's been one of our strong points, is that we do put a lot of pressure on the opponents from kickoffs, and we often also win the ball back as a turnover, and I'd love to see that keep on happening. One of our probably our strongest point at the moment is consistent scrumming, and we just absolutely need to make the best of that during our match this coming weekend, and get a psychological dominance over the Sharks regarding that. In terms of our lineouts have been up and down. If you watch my last podcast, I mentioned that our lineouts are both good and bad. It was really brilliant in our previous match until the bench came on, and it felt like there was a lack of communication, lack of cohesion, and we lost maybe 2 or 3 of our own balls in the last 15 to 20 minutes at line-out time. We need to really keep our defensive structures intact, because the Sharks can really make something out of nothing. Now, that's something that I've also mentioned. I do believe that our defensive structure is really good. But when it comes to individual defending, that's where we made mistakes, and that is where we're really going to have to start communicating with each other and committing to tackles. When we play from rucks, it's really been a stop and go situation. We haven't committed to the ball at pace to attack the advantage line aggressively, and we need to do that. And I'm really hoping to see that especially our loose forwards, when they receive the ball, well, any player for that matter, that we don't receive the ball standing still. Immediately, it gives the defending opposition an opportunity to push up to the advantage line, and then if you're not at pace, then you get caught behind the advantage line and you literally start playing backwards, and I hate seeing that. The Sharks' defensive pattern in general, and their commitment and understanding as a team of their defensive pattern, is probably their worst aspect. And I hope to see that if we attack with ball in hand, that we can exploit that, because I know that we can. I don't care how many Springboks are in the Sharks team, but I've seen even this season that when the Lions attack with ball in hand and they gain a little bit of confidence, we become really, really dangerous. And then and by running into space, we can actually open up positions and gaps, and exploit the defensive structure or lack of structure from the Sharks. Something that I will say is, even though Andre Esterhuizen and Ethan Hooker are really good players, and one-on-one, they're also good defenders. But if they're going to be selected as the center pairing, it's ironic actually that in between and around them, they've made a lot of defensive errors as a combination. And I believe that we can actually attack the space in and around their center pairing. Lastly, I believe that the Lions can absolutely win this match. And not just win, I believe that we can dominate this match if we remain disciplined and we keep our structures tight, especially in terms of defense, even on attack. I don't think we need to play wide too quickly. And I think we need to earn the right to play wide. 2, 3, 4 short balls, attacking phases around the rucks, around the set pieces, to draw in some defense, especially somebody like Andre Esterhuizen, to draw them in and then create space outside where we're comfortable playing and the way that we like playing. Also, with the kind of loose forwards that we have that can move across the park as well as they do, we can have great support in that sense, and we can really open up the game. But we can't do it too quickly. We need to be patient, and we need to look at space and manage what's going on the field when we're attacking. I'm looking forward to a great match this weekend. I really believe the Lions are going to turn around from the one pothole that they struck against the Blue Bulls. I'm absolutely certain that we're going to turn it around and come away with a 5-point win, actually. So let's go out there. Let's support the Lions. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of supporters at Ellis Park from both teams, hoping for all the best for the guys in 2 or 3 days' time. Let's go and do this.